some real improvement. So having said all that, let me tell you what the culminating activities are. I should say culminating activities because there are actually 4 things in total. I say here 3 choices, 1 destination, and that's the 4 things. 3 different choices and then 1 destination at the end. Let me tell you about those choices. And I want to note that all of the slides I'm about to show you are posted on Brightspace. I'm also going to post the video that I am currently making that probably best starts right now. I might edit it so that it just starts right now. So let me show you things. First of all, the 3 kinds of choices. There are going to be writing choices. You're going to choose either a formal or an informal essay to write. That's the first thing. That is today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. Then some reading choices. You're going to read an article, you're going to read a short story, and you're going to write some things about one of those. So you choose one of them once you've read both of them. That will be Thursday, Friday, and Monday of next week. And then there is a media activity. You'll learn about racism, you'll learn about sexism, both of them, sort of racism and sexism online. And then you're going to make an infographic showing some of your understanding of what you read and of the issues. So having said all that, let's talk about the essay thing first, because that's today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. You're only going to write one of them, and I will note, back when we used to do a final exam, there was an essay assignment on that exam, and you had just like 1 hour to do it. You've got today, tomorrow, and Wednesday to do this. 2 choices. And whichever choice you choose, I'm going to ask you to put it in MLA format, and within the slide, I've given a template that you can use quite easily for that. So again, all that stuff posted on Brightspace. So first of all, the informal essay. Here's the idea here. Dalton, this is the one that I promised you I thought you would enjoy. And I think a bunch of you will enjoy this one. I want you to choose something that's important to you. Anything at all. An activity, a sports team, a particular kind of thing that you love. It could be your family, it could be your pets, it could be anything. Choose something that's important and explain why it's important. Right? So, and I said here, possibilities, a pet, a sports team, an activity you love, a place, a dream for the future, anything that's important to you. This is a very personal essay. There's going to be a lot of I. There's going to be a lot of me. In other words, there's going to be a lot of you in this essay. So, just to make it clear, I worked up an example of this. And so, let's look at this. I think that here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my introduction, my body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, body paragraph 3, and conclusion. I want you to see how personal an essay like this could be. I think that everyone needs that one thing that helps them through tough times. When the storms of life break over us, we need shelter. And when they batter us with bitter winds, we need comfort. For some people, it's a pet they love or a place they can go where they feel safe. For some, it's their dreams of the future. Those things are all important, but for me, the thing that keeps me going, that lifts me up, is running. My daily habit of running is essential to my life because it keeps me healthy, elevates my mood, and takes my mind off my worries. Now let's look at the body paragraphs. First, and most obviously, running keeps me healthy. Since I started running seriously about 3 years ago, my weight has gotten under control, my heart rate has dropped, and my overall health has been amazing. I used to struggle with keeping a healthy weight, and my doctor had actually told me I needed to get it down. It's not easy, though. Chips and other junk food are tempting, and I spend a lot of time reading and playing video games. When my best friend convinced me to come out running with her, I didn't realize how much of a difference it would make to my life. My resting heart rate used to be over 80 beats per minute, but it's dropped now to around 60. My body just feels better than it ever has before, which just shows how good running has been for me. Furthermore, I can't discount how good running is for my mood. When I pop in my ear pods, start a positive playlist, and slip out the door every morning at 7:30, it starts my day with pure joy. It's especially good when I can run in sunshine and through a little wooded trail near my house. I've heard that it's good for you to spend time outside in the daylight, and running does that for me. It's time that's totally for me, my music, and the path in front of me. A lot of the time, I'm not even thinking of anything at all, but when I slow down at the end of a run, I notice how happy I am. I might be tired and a little out of breath, but there's still a bounce in my step. I used to be a little bit of a depressive and had a bunch of negative thoughts, but when I'm running, it seems like I can outpace the blues and race right into happiness. Finally, running takes my mind off my worries. Life isn't perfect, and I often get stuck thinking of negative things. Like everyone, I have worries about the future and sad memories from the past. My mom died when I was very young, and I often stress about whether I'm living up to her expectations of me. I have a goal for the future, but I keep on hearing how difficult it's going to be to get into the school I want. Running won't make these troubles go away, but I've learned that worrying doesn't do any good either. A good run in the morning helps me shake off my worries so I can approach my problems with a positive attitude. It's not like I'm running away from my troubles, but more like I'm shaking off the negative thoughts and leaving them in my dust. Running, for me, is a health booster, a mood lifter, and a worry shaker. And that's why it's so important. I hope I always feel this way. I often think about my future life, career, family, love. There are a lot of good things waiting for me. I'm going to keep running towards them. See what that did? It began with a restatement of the thesis, running good, why, this, and this, and then went into some general thoughts after that. If I put all of this together, I know it's no longer readable there, but that's that whole essay. Introduction, body paragraph, and conclusion. And that's me just kind of imagining what somebody who really likes running might want to write about in a personal essay like this. I wrote that, but it's not me. I haven't been losing any weight through running. But I'm imagining this as a student who took up running and has found that it's really helped her. And so that's kind of the way I imagined that to be. I did a little bit of creative thing for you just to show you how this kind of thing worked. I didn't do that for the other choice. So the other choice is a formal argumentative essay. It's also fun, but it's a different kind of fun. It's more like an intellectual kind of fun rather than a personal thing. And some of you might not like this, but some of you are very serious-minded. And some of you like to write about serious, deep things and don't prefer to write about personal things. That's okay. I wanted to have an option for you as well. So like the informal personal essay, this one is also about what's important. But in this case, it's not your personal experience, but some rational thinking. This is the logical stuff. So instead of what's just important to you, this one is about what's important to our whole society. And so to do your brainstorming for this one, I'm going to ask you to think about trying to fill in the blanks on this. Any society to be truly successful must have this, this, and this. Now, possibilities, you could say any society to be truly successful must have any one of these kinds of things. And you may have ideas as well. This is just me brainstorming for a few minutes. Gender equity, racial justice, economic equality, plentiful job opportunities, functioning schools, a good healthcare system, elder care, peace, justice, empathy. I could pick any three of these and make an essay out of it, and that's what you will do if you choose this, right? So your thesis statement would be, any society to be truly successful must have racial justice, functioning schools, and peace. There we go. I can make that argument, right? We need racial justice, we need functioning schools, and we need peace. Somebody else could say, any society to be truly successful must have plentiful job opportunities, a good healthcare system, and justice. Right? Again, anyone can choose any of these things or make up some of your own. I wanted to try to make it easy for you to do. Now, in this case, the structure is the same. You're going to introduce the idea of having a successful society, how everybody wants their society to be successful, however, some societies are not. And then you end off by dropping your thesis right at the end of that first paragraph. Any society to be truly successful must have this, this, and this. And then you got that first, furthermore, and finally. First, a truly successful society must have peace. And then you explain why. This isn't your opinion anymore. This is rational, logical argument. You're not going to say, I think. You're not going to say, it seems to me. Right? You're going to make rational, logical arguments about why peace or racial justice or elder care or whatever it is important to a truly great society. And you're going to do 3 of those paragraphs, first, furthermore, finally, and of course have a conclusion at the end. And again, same thing, you're going to restate your thesis, right? Maybe your restatement of your thesis is a truly great society needs racial justice, elder care, and peace. And then some final thoughts. That's often the trickiest thing, that final thoughts to show insight. But in this case, it's not hard. You're thinking about a better future, right? A better future for this society. You're thinking about maybe just some final thoughts about how we can achieve those things. So that's the first part of your and I did have one other thing here. I mean, I know I'm saying something really obvious here. Your thesis statement goes there, and 1, 2, 3, whatever you choose of those go in there. Again, I'm saying some pretty obvious stuff there. Now, I have also given some hints about this one. I didn't write out a whole essay in this case because I tried it and it just felt like I was doing too much of it for you that way because the formula on this is so tight. Right? If I wrote one of those, it would have just felt like all you would have needed to do was copy mine and change something. I don't know if I can put that on. So I just gave you some hints. Avoid the I and the me. Have a thesis statement at the end of your first paragraphs. And most importantly, try to have some very specific ideas. Maybe say what happens when a society does have those things and when a society does not have those things. Right? If you've chosen elder care, what happens when a society does have elder care? What happens when a society does not have good elder care? Right? Get some good logical arguments in there. And I will note, you don't need to do research for this essay. You are permitted to do so, and you may have in-text citations, right? If you quote something, you may do that, and I can help you with that. But you don't have to do research. But you can have things like, according to the Pew Institute, blah, 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 and quote something from that. That's okay. So I already said this, but I put a second slide in here about this. Whatever slide you choose, make sure it's MLA format. I've given you a template you can use. You can just type it in there and make it look good. And so here's our timeline with a gift from the office, which personally I didn't like, but some people. Day 1, make choices, brainstorm, and start writing. Pretty soon I'm going to just shut up and let you get to it. Day 2, write. Day 3, finishing touches and hand it in. So this one you will be submitting by the end of class on Wednesday. There is a folder for you to submit it to, and you just submit it to there. Now, briefly, I want to tell you about the other parts of the culminating activity, but I don't want to spend a lot of time on them now because pretty soon I want to stop talking. But let me just tell you about them. On Thursday, we'll be getting to the reading choices part. And for that, I've chosen a story, 2 Years Less a Day, by Don Dumont, who is an Indigenous Canadian writer. It's sort of about Indigenous people and the Canadian justice system and the problematic relationship there is there. It's a very good piece. Then I've got a nonfiction piece. It's an article from Everyday Sociology about the idea of intersectionality. This, by the way, is Kimberly Crenshaw, who kind of first came up with the term intersectionality, it's a concept that gives a term for the idea that everybody has their own unique experiences with oppression, and that different kinds of oppression interact with each other in different ways. I don't want to take too much from the article in advance, but it's about that. And once you've read both of those, then two roads diverge, because there are two choices you can make, just like in the writing one. You could write about the story 2 years less a day, and I got kind of a prompt to get you writing about that. Or you could write about the idea of intersectionality from the article. This one's a pretty easy one, right? You do both of those readings on the first day, and on the second day, well, and I've even got some hints for each one, whether you choose 2 years less a day, or whether you choose the intersectionality one. I've got some hints about how you should do the writing, what kinds of insight you should have in there. And then I'm going to ask you to not let your words sit lonely on the page by themselves. Use pictures and color to make it stand out. This piece of writing, you're going to fancy it up a little bit after you've done it. So, day 1, that'll be Thursday, you'll read both of those pieces. Day 2, you make your choice and you'll do some writing. Day 3, you'll add some finishing touches and make your thing look fancy and pretty. But the last one of the choices things has to do with oppression and social media. As I said here, social media is here to stay. Instead of crying about how bad it is, maybe we need to think about how to make it better. And so we've got a bunch of short things to read. A little piece called More Must Be Done to Combat Online Racism. Sexism in Social Media, here's how to deal with it. Combating Racism on Social Media, and Sexism, See It, Name It, Stop It. So that's 4 different things, 2 of them from 2022, 2 of them from 2021 about these topics. And now that you've learned about oppression online, racism or sexism or both, the question is what can be done about it. And what you're going to do in this case is you are going to create either an infographic or, I was convinced by another teacher, an Instagram-style carousel, minimum of 5 images with text about the issue. And you can do further research, or really you can just use the resources that I've given you. And again, we've got some support for you, tips on how to make a good infographic, a guide to making carousels, and I think it's best to use Canva for that one. There's a way you can do that easily on Canva. Just some helpful resources about that. And again, a 3-day timeline. Day 1, you read those 4 choices, you do some thinking. Day 2, you plan and create. Day 3, you do some finishing touches. At that point, you've been working on this culminating activity stuff for 9 days. And there we go. And then we get to the destination. Once you've completed the writing, the reading, and the media studies choice, it's time for the final part, which is a short presentation. And so for this presentation part, there's one big question. How have you grown? We will have been together in this classroom by the time you start on that one for more than 80 days of class. And the question is, how have you grown in terms of a whole bunch of things along the way? And you're going to create a short presentation about that. So you could think about how you've grown as a writer. How has your writing improved? How have you grown as a thinker? How have you grown as a planner? How do you do better planning? How have you grown as a reader? How have you grown, or are you better at expanding on your ideas? Are you better at proofreading your work? Are you better at brainstorming choices and pushing yourself to get things finished? Have you learned to read more deeply? Have you learned to reread carefully? Have you learned to listen to your own ideas? Have you learned to have confidence in your thinking? Or last thing in your presentation, I'm going to be telling you to make sure to use bits from your earlier choices, like use ideas from the earlier parts of the culminating activity. Speak directly to the audience. Say more than your slides do. You know, I've said this a lot, right? You just have a little bit on the slides, and then when you speak to your audience, you say more than is in the slides. You expand on what is here. And of course, you show how well you've practiced it by being really, really fluent in your presentation. Now, here, again, we got a 3-day timeline, which is plan, practice, and present. I am going to allow you, if you prefer, to produce your final presentation as a video, as video content. You could record your screen, record your voice, and simply present it that way. And so if you do that, you can simply submit that presentation to me. I'm allowing this partly because I know some of you might prefer it that way rather than doing a live presentation. And frankly, I'm also allowing this because we'll be really, really short of time at the end. Let me ask a question. How many people figure that they will prefer to do a live presentation in front of the class? Raise your hand. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Easy to do in one class. And if everybody else chooses the other option, that's cool. If we need more time, I've got lunchtime. So we can figure it out. But in any case, that is your culminating activity. That's everything all together. And mostly today, most of the days, I'm going to want to just get out of your way and get you working on it. So I'm going all the way back to part 1. And note that you got those two choices, right? A formal, argumentative essay or an informal, very personal essay. And I'm curious on this one. So that informal essay, that's just about something that is important and meaningful to you personally. And the second one is about what it takes to have a truly successful society. How many people think they're going to choose the personal essay for that first choice? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How many people figure they are choosing the rational about what it takes to make a good society? I got maybe 2. How many are not yet sure? That's okay to not be sure. Mostly what I want to do right now is just leave you to think about it and get to it. Let me show you. Oh, I guess I can stop my recording now. I'm going to later post this recording